the New York Knicks. I'm back in the New York groove. Well, it's the Knicks. New York. We are the New York Knicks. New Yorkers. For this new season we're about to enter, the Knicks taking no shorts just like winter. New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is
K-N-I-C-K-S.
Everybody say go New York, go New York,
And
go!
welcome to episode 422 of the New York Knicks podcast, part of the Almighty Baller Podcast Network and Dash Radio. I am Jay. How you doing, Mark?
Good. I'm excited to talk about all the Knicks games this week. It's playoff time, so I haven't been paying attention lately, but I assume the Knicks have been playing a lot because it's the playoffs.
They have in their local Y.
Okay. My local Y, I assume that that's a new name, a nickname for Madison Square Garden, like the Mecca, the local Y.
It is the Y next to Madison Square Garden, yes.
Okay, so
So that's a wrap. Thanks for listening. We'll be back.
This is the time of the year when there's nothing Knicks to talk about anymore because it's the playoffs time. What is going on in Knicks world? Should we do some updates, Jay?
Sure. The Knicks are interviewing every single person who wants to coach, except for Jeff Van Gundy.
Well, supposedly the Knicks just didn't have interest in Jeff Van Gundy because they found out he was very successful with the Knicks, and they don't want that to bring that back.
Guys, we don't want the most recent successful Knicks coach.
Yeah, we don't want someone to remind us that we used to be good. We want to bury the 90s under the carpet as much as possible. And anyone that's responsible for us being good then, we don't want around here. We will actually, if you were on one of those teams, the James Dolan, the owner, will personally have the police called on you.
So they are interviewing other people, including guys they have absolutely no chance of getting. Like, why would Kenny Smith coach the Knicks?
Well, if you're in one of those positions, why would you leave? And I guess this goes to JVC also. Or JVG. I can't say that fast.
JVC is a VHS.
Why would Betamax want to coach the Knicks? Well, Eddie, I just feel like those jobs, to a certain extent, if you are a go-to analyst, you're making a lot of money, and you never lose your job because your team underperforms. I don't know. You have to obviously love coaching, but Kenny Smith has a great job.
Yeah, I mean, Shaq's been underperforming on that show for 5 years, and he's still got a job.
Yeah, people still like Shaq. Why, if you're Kenny Smith, and Kenny Smith apparently was interviewed for a Houston job before they hired D'Antoni, so people have considered him before. It's not like the Knicks are out of left field being the only team to consider him. And do you think he could be a decent coach? I
do, yeah, but again, like, he's under contract, he's got job security, he's making good money. There's no reason he would leave for this aggravation.
I mean, unless you really want to be an NBA coach, and he's around the game enough that you feel like, who knows if he'd be a good coach, but he is as good as anyone else. And as anyone else, you just don't know, basically, because a lot of guys the Knicks are interviewing have very limited, at least NBA head coaching experience.
Right.
They're coached, so apparently early front runners or guys that had good interviews. And the thing is also, the problem also is, it's not like the Knicks are the only team that's going to interview for a coach. A bunch of other teams are interviewing coaches now also. So the Knicks have to make a decision and get the right guy soon and convince that guy that you want to coach the Knicks, not some other team. Like the Knicks are not the ideal. They're not your number one choice if you're going to come in as a coach.
Well, would it be funny if they just made a reality show and they handed out roses like The Bachelor, and then whoever they ended up picking just goes to another team anyway?
I have to say, up to that point, you had me as like, that would be the greatest Knicks reality show. Like, every Knicks fan would be tuned in. Like, you get to actually watch the interview with like David Blatt, and then like have like comments of like, could you imagine like it would be like just The Bachelor? That would be an amazing reality show to watch.
Yeah, they're like, oh, and the winner is David Blatt, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Atlanta instead.
I took the Hawks job already. Sorry.
And they're like, stay tuned for season 2 starting tomorrow.
Or actually, or like the real Bachelor, he has to pretend like he's like, oh, I'm so excited to be joining the Knicks, and then you hear like the next day that he signed with the Hawks, and it was all like
right.
a lie.
Exactly.
Oh my God! Could you imagine each week like, they keep the coach off the island, and we get That would be better than Knicks NBA's regular season to discuss. Like you'd have like we're down to six coaches, guys. Let's discuss. All these things we could do with the NBA, but win games.
Would it be like The Bachelor and Dolan would end up sleeping with the top 5 contestants?
That is in the unrated edition, and yeah. So the Knicks have. So do you know who the 2 front runners are?
I'm gonna guess just to make my anxiety even worse. Mike Woodson and Mark Jackson.
Luckily, they are not the front. Luckily, there was no. So all they said was that 2 of the coaches had very good interviews, and they did not say Mike Woodson or Mark Jackson. So based on basically just the absence of mentioning their names, I'm assuming that Woodson and Mark Jackson might be out of the picture. Unless they don't get anyone else. But the 2 guys that had the good interviews were Jerry Stackhouse and David Fitzdale.
Oh, wow! Those are like our top 2 picks from last week. This is a weird feeling.
This is a weird. Maybe you nailed it again. With just like KP, you'll nail the coach. My son, by the way, who's like, I'm trying to explain that the Jets have a draft coming up, the NFL draft's coming up, and the Knicks will draft in June, and the Knicks are trying to find a coach. So he's like, Dad, when do we draft our coach? I'm like, it's close enough.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
So anyway, those 2 are the 2 guys that are in the lead after the first week. I think Blatt's interview is coming up. The Knicks are now offering also Kenny Smith. I don't know if Kenny Smith has interviewed already. They're also interviewing Budenholzer. I can't. The Hawks coach.
Mm-hmm.
Who the Hawks? I'm surprised the Hawks. I guess the Hawks are resigned to the fact that Budenholzer is leaving. But if the Knicks hire Budenholzer, then they'd have to give compensation to the Hawks.
I mean, why not? Dolan's already paying the last 2 coaches.
Well, I think compensation. I don't give a crap about Dolan's money, but like as in like a 2nd-round draft pick.
Oh.
Well, that's what they gave a 2nd-round draft pick for our GM. What? Perry. I think they gave a second. They had to give a 2nd-round pick for him.
Well, that just ruined my week.
Okay. How do you feel about the Knicks giving away a 2nd-round draft? We're assuming it's not being a 1st round. A 2nd-round draft pick to get Mike Budenholzer.
I feel poorly about that.
Well, do you know anything about him? Do you think he'd be a good coach?
I know he was a pop guy.
Yes, that would be the biggest thing under his resume. He did win 60 games for the Hawks. The one year everyone was like, wow, the Hawks are really good this year. Maybe they're for real. They weren't. But
well, they ended up trading like all 5 of the starters from that year.
Yeah, which was kind of crazy. But they actually had a pretty good team, and they had the best record in the East that year. So he's had some pretty good years, basically. He had to read his win total from his time coaching the Hawks: 38, 60, 48, 43, 24. And at least in that 60 year, everyone talked about how like amazing team basketball the Hawks were playing.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you need talent also. But he was a Spurs assistant for like 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty good. Should we just offer him I feel like he should be one of the front runners.
I do too.
If we can get him. The Knicks are also interviewing, and I also don't know that much about his. I mean, I just know from watching the Hawks, he's supposed to be a guy that's very good at developing players. Also, people have said he's developed a lot of guys he developed Timmy Hardaway.
Cool.
I mean, he went Timmy Hardaway from a guy the Knicks just like threw to the trash to a guy the Knicks were willing to pay $72 million a couple years later.
Mm-hmm.
So he's might be good at developing players. And a bunch of other guys he's had guys like Bazemore, which got big contracts after he developed them.
So he's good at taking mediocre players and having them get offered contracts they don't deserve.
Yeah, probably. Well, he at least tricks people into thinking that they're good.
Mm-hmm.
And they're also Knicks
trick us into thinking the Knicks are good.
Yeah.
At this point,
good.
I'll take it.
I'll take any made up reality. Sounds good to me. Also, the Knicks are interviewing Spurs assistant coach James Borrego. If the Knicks hire him, I'll have to find out how to pronounce his last name.
Or you won't.
But he's a Spurs assistant, so sounds good. He should be a front runner also.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think about the Knicks interviewing Becky Hammon,
Yeah.
What would you think about that? You're down for that?
Yeah.
I feel like, so I'm going to be the chauvinist and say that'd be a terrible hire. I don't want to be the first team to hire a female head coach. And I'm going to be an asshole by saying that.
I think she's got to get experience, though.
Oh, I'm not doubting. She might be a fantastic basketball mind. And the fact that like she's the only woman in the NBA is a good chance she's probably superior than a lot of the guys because she has to be superior or else she wouldn't have the job she has in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to, I feel like to break into this kind of thing, you'd have to be like they have to be so impressed with you beyond any normal level. They'd have to be impressed with like a guy.
Exactly.
At the same time, do you think? I think we're going to head to disaster. I think with things guys going sour, you're going to have a lot of guys just say like, I'm not going to listen to a female coach. I know the Spurs are making it work, but that's different as an assistant coach. I think make a woman the head coach of the NBA of a men's basketball team. I think there's a good chance that I'd be fine being the second team to do this. I would not be fine being the first team to do this.
If it doesn't work out, we get a good draft pick. It's a win-win.
Okay. I feel like so you would do this?
Yeah.
I feel like that would be. I'd rather bring back not Mark Jackson or Mike Woodson, but any of the other candidates I'd go with hands down over Becky Hammon. I'm sure she's fantastic. I'm sure like another team will hire her. She'll be really good. I just think it'll be a complete disaster in New York.
See, any person connected to Popovich in any way, I'm giving the nod to.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I would agree with that part.
I mean, I feel like if you're with him for more than an hour, you're going to learn something, and it's going to benefit you.
It would be nice to get like a Popovich disciple, but there's a bunch of them out there, so it doesn't have to be her. It's going to be a disaster if you hire her. The Knicks are not giving her an interview, so
Patrick Ewing.
Yeah, I'd be fine with Patrick Ewing. I've had no issue. I don't know why the Knicks aren't interviewing him.
Because they're assholes to people who used to be on the team.
That whole like hatred of the '90s team. Okay, that is up to date. What else is going on in the Knicks world? Is there anything else to talk about? A bunch of coaches.
I just thought it was funny that Dolan said about Porzingis that he keeps hearing different things. He heard Porzingis could be back early December. He heard Porzingis could be out the whole season. Nobody really knows. And I saw 2 articles from 2 different places. One of them said Porzingis could be back at the beginning of the season. The other one said Porzingis could be out the whole season. It's just funny how the media just spins it however they want to say it.
Yeah, who the heck knows? It's a major injury. Like he could be out. There's a chance that he might be out the whole next season. He might be back.
Yeah, he's not going to be back early December.
Yeah, that seems kind of unlikely. I also feel like if he does that, then he'll get re-injured. Like it's not you don't want to rush this.
I'd rather him stay out the entire year if there's like even a 1% chance he's going to come back earlier and re-injure himself.
So here's another James Dolan thing. He was asking about Phil Jackson, and he said, "So tell me what you think." He said, "Everybody who wants to talk about the Knicks wants to ask me about Phil Jackson." Dolan said, smiling. The entire market wanted me to hire him, and when I did, the entire market said it was a great move. The only thing was everyone said that I shouldn't interfere with him. 3 years later, everyone wanted to know when I was going to do something about Phil. The same people who told me not to interfere wanted me to interfere, but that's okay. I just think that Phil underestimated the job.
He doesn't listen to this podcast because we were against it.
I was not against it. I was totally fine with it.
I thought you were.
No, I was totally fine. When the time the Knicks hired Phil, I was totally fine. I think if you go back and listen, I was extremely positive about it. I love the fact that Dolan said he's going to step back and not interfere, and he didn't interfere for 3 years until people. I mean, everything he's saying, the consensus was there were
that's
some
right.
people.
You were totally on board with that.
I was totally no. I remember you had some doubts about it, and you were just like another big name, blah blah blah. But I said, listen. You need someone who's a big name for Dolan just to like trust and just step back and not interfere. And Phil was a big enough name that he was not going to interfere with anything Phil did, and that was correct. I don't think there's some thought that maybe he interfered and said like forced Phil to sign Carmelo. My guess is that was just, I don't. There's no evidence that Dolan forced Phil's hand on that, and the more we hear from Phil, I think it was just Phil's dumb move himself.
Yeah, I mean. Anything that's dumb connected to Phil, I believe now because of the Noah contract.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many things he did that like it just showed that he wasn't paying enough attention. And clearly, Phil wanted to half-ass the job, and I think he summed it up pretty much at the end. I think Dolan nailed it. He think Phil underestimated the job. He thought he can coach by proxy. He thought he could do 10% of the work and have it all work out.
Mm-hmm.
And we should have known something was wrong right from the start when he said team president, not GM. GM means I'm going to manage this team and do everything I can to make a winner. Team president means I want someone else to take care of that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I would say generally, even there were people like you may have said like you were skeptical, but I think generally the voices of skepticism were pretty low. Like most people thought it was a good move.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say like when the Melo trade happened, most people wanted the Knicks to get Melo, and they were glad the Knicks got Melo, but they thought the Knicks overpaid. That was the consensus with the Knicks overpaid at the time.
And you know what? Getting Melo might not have been a bad thing if they didn't overpay. Because the whole problem was that there was nobody around him then.
Right. I mean, maybe that would have worked out differently. There are a lot of things the Knicks could have done differently, but I feel like just for this thing, I think Dolan is right here. I think generally people thought it was a good idea. People figured Phil with his resume would have Phil would have taken this job 100% seriously, and it looks like he did not. I was looking. So the funny thing is, I saw this article. It was on RealGM.com, and someone had a great line about this. Hang on. What was it? And maybe people added a bunch of comments, but he pointed out when Phil Jackson was coaching the Lakers, he wanted the Lakers to trade Kobe Bryant because he said he couldn't coach Kobe, and he wanted to trade him to get I think it was to get Jason Kidd, and so he wanted to pair Jason Kidd with Shaquille O'Neal, which actually could have been interesting. But the fact that he wanted to get rid of Kobe Bryant was like a sign like, hey, maybe he's not as good. Maybe he shouldn't be a team GM.
Right.
But anyway, should we go back to? Should we talk about? We have a guest. Do you want to talk to our guest?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'm going to step out of the room while the guest comes.
Okay,
here.
Good.
Okay. Do you know who the guest is, or do you remember what we're doing?
I'm pretty sure I know who the guest is.
Okay. I'll be back.
Okay.
Ring, ring.
Hello, is this Johnny Clickbait?
Yeah, Jay. This is Johnny Clickbait. I am writing lots of Knicks articles, and you said you want to interview me about, or I'm telling you should interview me about all these articles. Johnny Clickbait. I have lots to tell you about the Knicks.
Good.
So I'm going to tell you my first article. I wrote this article. It's Premiere. You got to go to my website. You got to click on it. It's important for you to click on it. So my title of the article is, you can ask me about it, how the Knicks can build a contender and win this title with the title with this secret formula.
Oh, that sounds really good.
Yeah.
I kind of want to click on that.
Yeah, you should click on it. Totally click on it.
All right. Are you sending me the link? Should I click on it?
Yeah, click on the link now.
Okay. Johnny Clickbait, this is a pretty terrible article.
No. It's just you build a contender and win a title. You have to. The Knicks need to score more points than their opponents, and then do the same thing in the playoffs. There you go. Got it.
I feel like I've been baited.
Okay. I got another article. The real and uncensored reason Jeff Hornacek was fired. Click here.
Oh, I want to know the real reason. I'm going to click on that.
Yeah. You'll read all about how the Knicks didn't win a lot of games under Hornacek.
But everyone knew that was the reason.
Yeah, that's the real uncensored reason.
He baited me again.
Okay. Here. This is a very uplifting article I wrote.
Okay.
And you should totally click on it.
Mm-hmm.
Why we all will be celebrating a Knicks title very shortly.
Ooh, yeah, I like the sound of that.
Yeah,
Good news. Okay.
It's all about how the world's been around for billions of years. So like 100 to 200 years is a very small blip in the continuum of human history. So, I mean, human beings have been only around for like 10,000 years, or I have no idea how long. But so it's like human beings have barely existed for very long, considering the history of the universe. So yeah, so like 1,000 years is not a long period of time.
Johnny Clickbait, I don't think I like you.
Okay. My next article is, Here's why KP will go down as the top 3 player of all time. Click here.
All right, you got me. I'm clicking.
Okay, yeah. So it says he'll do that because he'll have the same stats the rest of his career as LeBron James.
Based on...
well, that's how you'd have to go down to the top 3 player because you got to be as good as LeBron James or Michael Jordan. I just picked LeBron. I could have said Michael Jordan, but yeah, if he had those stats, then he would be a top 3 player.
I guess that's true, but I feel like I wasted my time clicking on that.
Johnny Clickbait's here with the very breaking news. I am going to cover the internet with all the stories you want to hear. Last one for you, Jay. Last one for you.
Okay.
A game plan to develop Frank Ntilikina into one of the all-time great point guards.
That's what we want. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm clicking on that.
Okay, click on that one.
Okay.
This is a very important. He will average 30. He needs to average 30 points a game and 12 assists a game.
That's the whole article?
Yeah. If he does that, he'll go down as one of the great point guards of all time.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah. That's the whole article. Yeah. So I get right to the point. Tell you exactly how things work. Johnny Clickbait. I click on my articles. Okay, I'll see you later, Jay.
See you later, Johnny. I hope not. I kind of feel like... Mark, are you back?
Oh, I'm back, yes.
I kind of feel like Johnny wrote some articles just to get us to click on them.
I think that might be it.
That bit was based on a true story.
There's something I clicked on that was it was like the keys to the Knicks having a good offseason, and it was hire the right coach, draft the right player, sign the right free agent.
That was literally the article Mark forwarded to me.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god, I clicked on this crap. Anyway, it's the offseason for us. We need to think of funny things, or I don't care if you found it funny. We're just going to be a little more less serious, more wacky, because it's hard not killing yourself on a Knicks podcast.
So let's. You want to go to the voicemail and then talk around the league?
Yes, that's a good idea. Then we'll talk about
Skype's new feature does not allow me to record the voicemails. So what is going to happen is I forward the voicemail to Mark because Skype also removed the download function. So Mark is now going to play the voicemail and put his mic up to his speaker. So it's going to sound bad, but this is the only workaround we have right now.
Because I mean, it's partly that they purposely make this impossible to use, and partly because I don't know. I was telling Jay, I was trying to download my pictures off of the cloud, the Apple cloud, and I found this article that was talking about how to do it, and they were like, and I'm sure there's a way to do all of them at once, but they were just saying like you have to click on one picture, then another picture, and sure, it would make sense if you could click select all and download them all. And maybe this will be available in a future version, but it's not available now. You should ask Apple, not us.
Apple's great.
Yeah, all these. Okay. Anyway, it'll be not the best. Hopefully, this doesn't sound terrible for the audio. Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a while. This is Frank from California, Frankie. It's been a while, partly because of work schedule, family, but mainly because the Knicks have sucked ass. They sucked really bad. I hope you guys can hear me well. I don't really have a good radio voice, but I was listening to the show today and wanted to give my 2 cents on what's going on with the team that we love. I remember watching 2 years ago, the NCAA championship, and hearing Jay Wright. They interviewed Jay Wright, and they asked Jay Wright, what did he talk about with his team? And basically, he talked about how in practice, he went over like bounce passes and like fundamentals, like random fundamental stuff during a championship run. They ended up winning the championship that year. But when I heard that, I knew Villanova would win the championship. And at that time, I remember saying to like all my friends and everyone I knew that the Knicks, obviously did not. And right now, I give him props for having Jay Wright on the list. I'll be surprised if Jay Wright takes the job, because who would want to take this job? But Jay Wright is a great coach, and
That was part one.
Okay. Let's go. Let's keep going.
Okay. Skype cuts you off after 2 minutes.
It's wonderful.
That's it. That's their third awesome option.
hey, sorry about that. Driving home from work. Like I was saying, I really feel that the Knicks should go after Jay Wright because coaching is very important in the NBA. Don't listen to the people on ESPN or on Fox talking about how the NBA is a players' league. Yes, it's a players' league, but the problem is with the NBA is the players are not coming into the NBA developed anymore. The players are doing one and done. They're coming in underdeveloped. They're coming in needing work. And in that case, that's the reason why you need great coaching. Look at what the Celtics are doing. Look at what certain teams like the Jazz is doing. There are certain teams that are doing well because they have great coaching. These players need it. They need to be developed. We have players like Amari Stoudemire that didn't work on a post-up game until he was in his 8th season of the NBA. It's extremely important to have great coaching. It's extremely important to have a coach that will develop a team. If you go back and listen to Jay Wright, if you listen to his interviews and you listen to the way he brings up his players in college, you'll see that this guy has the potential to be another Brad Stevens. And it might not work. It might not work, but this is something that's very important to have a coach that will develop young players as well as veteran players. Because let's be serious, a lot of these veteran players need development. Even LeBron talks about how he had to go to Miami to learn how to win. It's extremely important, and it's extremely frustrating to be here in California, to be here in the Bay Area, and
Do you want to just comment on that?
You want to just let it finish this? Let's just finish the call, Jay.
Okay.
Jay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to call you a third time and leave a third voicemail. I guess it's a limit. But I just want to end with this. It's frustrating watching the Warriors run laps on the Knicks. I mean, not just the Knicks, the entire NBA. And there's not even a comparable team that could just, keep up with them. It's a joke. I'm used to the 90s where there were at least 2 good teams per conference, or at least 3 good teams throughout the league. But we had the Cavs who just run them up on the East, and then you have the freaking Warriors who run them up into the entire NBA. And then you have Ben Simmons, and don't even get me started. It's frustrating, and we're all sitting here bamboozled by the Knicks, thinking that Phil Jackson was running everything when it was Mills. If you look at the stupid moves that were made pre and post Phil or during Phil, it's all the same crap. It's Mills and all those other idiots in the front office. They're the ones that were making decisions. Phil was just out there to be a poster for it, so that we won't put the heat on Dolan. What they need to do is get a coach, get a real front office, not the jokes that's in there right now, and let them run the team. Just let them run the team the way Miami is ran by Pat Riley, or the way Popovich runs the Spurs. It's plain and simple. But the Knicks are not doing that. They want to win their own way. They want to keep signing these old.
One more.
So yeah, the Knicks have a long way to go. They're gonna keep frustrating us. We just need to be patient with them. making ridiculous moves. Like the caller said on the last episode, we need to develop an identity, a real identity, whatever our identity is, and just develop that. We can't just throw Porzingis out there on his own. We can't do dumb stuff like that. If we need to build a team, that's plain and simple. Just need to build a team. They can do it if the upper management gives them the ability to do it, and that's pretty much it. Fans need to be patient. The Knicks can make it back again, but man, the road is gonna be tough. You know, you have Celtics and the Sixers that are good right now. So it's not gonna be easy. But the Knicks like doing things the hard way, like they did with Jordan. So be it. And that's how it's gonna be. All right, guys, take it easy. Sorry for the really long message. I do apologize for that. You guys have a good one. Go Knicks.
All right, thanks, Frank. Sorry about the audio quality on that, but it was a good call, so we wanted to play that.
Yeah, no, it's a very good call. What do you want to say? How do you want to react?
Well, I mean, I think a guy like Jay Wright is a really good guy to look at. We said it last episode. Some of these college coaches are, kicking ass in the NBA. So I don't see why you wouldn't want to look at some of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, well, a lot of guys have had problems. I think part of the problem is when you come into the league, it's harder probably to get respect of an NBA team than it is get respect of college guys. In some ways, because college guys, like, you built this team, you got everyone there, and they know, like, you're in charge. But I think sometimes the NBA, I don't know if they view coaches with the same light, because you don't really, the coach doesn't exactly build a team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into the.
I don't know. If you're in a good program, also, like, you can build, like, if you're a good recruiter, you can just build the right team you want. And usually, as a coach, you come into a bad team, and it's going to be bad for a while. And you have to figure out how to turn that around. You can't just turn that around by recruiting good players.
I mean, the whole front office thing. I agree. I don't think Mills. I don't have much faith in Mills and Perry. Miami is doing it correctly. R.C. Buford is actually running the show in San Antonio, and he's doing a great job. Papa's just coaching, but I get where you're going. Yeah, franchises like that, it's like they just seem to make all the right decisions.
Yeah, I understand what he's saying. You have to obviously you need to find the right coach. Jay Wright would probably be great, very good. And there are probably a lot of college coaches would transfer or would like come to the NBA and do a very good job. For a little while, it was like a trend to get college guys. Now, like, teams have really gone away from that.
Yeah, but I don't see why.
Yeah, there's no like good reason. I think because a lot of college coaches with big names have flamed out in the NBA, have not worked out. Basically, so teams are like, okay, well, this doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, well, a lot of big name NBA coaches have flamed out too.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like, it doesn't. I'm sure if you're a good college coach, there's a chance you could be a good NBA coach. There's a chance you'll be a bad NBA coach. Just like if you're an assistant or anything else, like, you have a chance of being good, chance of being bad. There's a lot more to it than just like plug and play someone like, oh, okay, I'll give him the job and then they'll just work out.
Exactly. What do you say we take a quick break and then we'll do our questions, and then whatever time we have left, we'll do around the league.
Sure. I was just going to say, what do you think about building a culture? How do we build a culture from here? Like, everyone talks about building a culture. It's really hard to do. It's not just the Knicks are screwing this up. A lot of teams can't do this.
Yeah, I mean, it starts at the top. So,
yeah,
we have Dolan. That's not good. Having a good GM-president combo would also be a good start in building a culture.
I think you need your best players. Whatever the coach wants to do, the best players have to fully buy in. But they're not.
They buy in when they have respect. And
right. I mean, the thing is, like, D'Antoni came here. It did not work here because he could not get Melo in particular, or he couldn't get the players to really buy into his system, and then it wasn't going to work out from there. And for whatever reason, even though he had success elsewhere, Melo did not have enough respect for what D'Antoni was trying to do to buy in. At the same time, he goes to Houston. He gets James Harden to completely buy in, and then the other players buy in because Harden buys in, and it works much better.
On the other hand, I don't know. It's almost like it all has to come simultaneously because Harden buys in because they put complementary pieces around him
Right.
that fit. Whereas the Knicks got Carmelo and then didn't get pieces that fit, and then got a coach that doesn't fit with the pieces or Carmelo. Nothing fit, and all that has to come together as well.
Yeah, a lot has to come together, and even the triangle here. Whether the triangle would have worked or not, clearly the Knicks players did not buy into the triangle.
Mm-hmm.
But they also if maybe Phil was coaching the team, maybe they would have bought in. But when he does it through Derek Fisher and Jeff Hornacek, the coaches themselves don't really buy into it that much. And so they're not buying into it, then the players are really not going to buy into it. And everyone thinks you're coaching by proxy. It's hard to buy into that.
Yeah.
And then also, obviously, it'd be nice to have a system that there's so many things about the triangle where if they're well, will it work is it still going to work in today's NBA? If you're asking that question, you really need the players to completely buy in.
Yeah.
Okay, you take your break and then we'll.
All right. Thanks again, Frank. Okay, we are back. We have an email from Jeff. Of the players that we're going to keep, what
was the break?
It was our commercial break.
We took a commercial break?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear the commercial.
The magic of editing.
Okay. Or is it still today? Is it still Sunday night? Or is it Monday now?
No, we worked.
Okay.
Of the players that we're going to keep, what one or two specific things would you like to see them work on for next season? Thanks again for an entertaining year. Keep up the great work. Thanks, Jeff.
Overall,
this should be a short list of players that we're going to keep.
I mean, you could also say playing defense, playing team basketball.
I mean, Hardaway is consistency in defense.
Who was it? What's his name? Who's the coach of the Toronto again? The Raptors. I'm so bad at it. This is a terrible show.
Dwayne Casey.
Dwayne Casey. So one of the things that he did this season, I think this was a change that they did this offseason going into this season versus other seasons, was, and maybe it was before this, I don't know. They said one of the big changes there, or big things he's been doing now, instead of coaching players individually, he coaches players in groups. So instead of saying you need to work on this, we're going to put a group of 3 players and have the 3 players work on things. Always be working in groups as opposed to working on the individual. Mm-hmm. And instilling a greater team dynamic, because it's never about the individual. It's always about the team, and always working on team skills, not individual skills.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting and a different way to approach things. And obviously Toronto's had a much better year. A team that was already good made a step up using this concept. It was a different approach to things. Hopefully we can get a coach also will work on things that will go outside the box. Why? What I find weird is that the Knicks seem to have so little time to actually every time they have a new they bring the triangle in, they bring a new coach in, he has 3 weeks of training camp and that's it.
Yeah.
Why can't players come to preseason workouts to work on why is their first chance to work on things during the preseason?
I think it's optional. That's why.
Yeah, but can't you be hey, we want to win games this year. We're not have to we can have some meetings beforehand where we go over some of the things we want to work on, and you guys can work on the stuff yourselves, and then we can come back. I don't know. There should be more preparation going into the Knicks. Half the time the Knicks regular season seems to start where the Knicks are we don't really know what we're doing, hoping to figure it out later on.
Right.
I don't know. But anyway, so what do you want them to work on? Defense, passing, shooting, everything involved in being fundamental basketball in basketball?
Well, I mean, Hardaway would be consistency.
But what in consistency do you mean? You want him to take a lot of spend his offseason work. Let's pick one thing for each of the players to be working on. So Hardaway should be working on game type situation shooting.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, there was I forget this other player was talking about how he worked on free throw shooting. Maybe it was Clyde was talking about this. But how he used to take free throws. Instead of just taking free throws during practice, he would do a sprint and then take a free throw. Do a sprint, then take a free throw. Or do a sprint and take a shot. Because he wanted to have a more game type situation, mimic more game situation.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
But anyway, so Hardaway, work on his shooting. That's the best way to work because they have like more game type shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, who else?
Frank.
I was gonna say KP being able to walk.
Yeah. KP going one season, start to finish.
Frank, well, I guess his offense, obviously his offense.
I would say his aggressiveness.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Who else? Trey Burke.
Trey Burke, his shot can improve a little bit, right?
Yeah, I mean the thing is he was pretty efficient. Defense, how's that? He's
Okay.
undersized. He's undersized. He needs to work on defense.
Yeah.
He looked decent, but he could look whole lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Who else we got?
A lot of these guys might be gone, huh?
Yeah, I mean Enos Cantor might be gone. If Cantor,
Courtney Lee.
Cantor being awake on defense. Courtney Lee, I'm hoping he's gone also. Hoping they move on from him because they have too many guards. But I guess mentoring. I wanted to work on mentoring.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Who else? Troy Williams. I think he'll be back.
Troy Williams,
Shooting, 3-point shooting.
3-point shooting. Okay, yep.
Kylo Quinn, maybe back, maybe not. Who knows? What do you want him to work on?
Free throws.
Pick and roll. Yeah, pick three throws, but pick and roll defense.
Okay, yep.
Knicks centers. I'd say Cantor also pick and roll defense.
Everyone else might be gone.
Is there anyone else going to be back? I mean, there's got to be a.
I mean, a bunch of these guys could be back. I mean, there's 9 guys that could or could not be back.
Well, Dotson. 3-point shooting.
Yeah.
That'll keep him on the court. Luke Cornett.
I don't think he'll be back.
I think he might be back. Well, it depends on what happens with the centers. If Cantor and Kylo Quinn opt out, then Cantor might be. Then Cornett might be back.
Right.
If anything, I think Cornett, you bring him back as a. You think he's good enough that you'd bring him back as like a 2-way player, like keep him on the contract, but put him on the D League team again or G League team again?
That's not a bad idea.
I mean, he's serviceable. Like he seems like. I mean, he can shoot 3. You don't want to necessarily give up on that kind of guy.
Right.
He's 7 foot and can shoot 3-pointers. He's not amazing. He's not going to be a starting center, but like he could be a decent role player.
Right.
Who else? Who am I forgetting?
Yeah, that's good. Want to do Facebook questions?
And what's his name? Who's the point guard we want to get rid of? From
Jack?
Denver? No, from Denver.
Oh, Moutier.
Playing a lick of defense?
Yes. Not
Pick and roll
being one of the worst defenders in the entire NBA, yes.
I would say the whole team pick and roll defense. That's in particular any kind of complicated offense seems to anything kind of complex offense seems to throw them off completely. So I think the whole team could very much improve on pick and roll defense, except for Ntilikina, who apparently like at least advanced metrics show he's great on pick and roll defense. Okay, let's go to the questions, then go around the league. Let's go fast for these. Steven writes, NBA draft talk. Which position needs to be addressed most? Does KP's current injury force the Knicks to take a power forward or center with the 9th pick? The first question, what position, forgetting best player available, which position would be your number one choice to take?
I mean, honestly, I would go best player available, but
Yeah. I said forgetting that part.
small forward.
Yeah, I think small forward. I think small forward, even small forward and then center would be my number 2. But I feel like small forward is much more important. Is much more important than center right now.
Yeah.
And does KP's injury force us to take a power forward or center with a 9th pick?
No.
Especially if you think KP's going to be back, then like you don't need to take a power forward.
Exactly.
Rob writes, Steve Clifford as coach.
I don't really know much about Steve Clifford. Do you?
I thought you were a resident Steve Clifford expert. Don't you have his name tattooed on your arm?
He was he was the Hornets coach.
Yeah, I mean the Hornets have been like okay.
They really, really, really underperformed this year.
I mean I assume he's out as the Hornets coach, or they fired him already, right?
Was he the coach this year? Or
Yeah,
was he in the past? I know he was.
I thought he was out. I thought
he coached this year. Really underperformed, so I'm not too impressed.
Yeah, I mean he could be a good coach, who knows? But Tristan writes, why are they considering Mike Woodson?
Because they're insane and they like to piss us off.
I assume they're trolling Knicks fans. Sasha writes, what can we do that will not make Mark Jackson our next coach? I think based on the fact that they said there was good news that Stackhouse and Fitzdale had really good interviews, is the absence of mentioning Mark Jackson in a good interview meant he did not have a good interview. So
if that posting and toasting article didn't do him in, then I don't know what will.
I don't know that Knicks GM brass looks at the posting and toasting article.
They should.
Okay. Ralph writes, talk about this dirt on Mark Jackson. Wow. We've talked about this already, but Ralph writes, who should be the next coach? Who are you going with? Who's your front runner right now? Or not front runner? Who you think's gonna get it? Who would be your number one?
I think last week I said Stackhouse, but I would really like Fizdale too.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Fizdale, but Stackhouse. Even would have Van Gundy's my number one, but I'd be fine with Fizdale or Stackhouse really. Actually, or anyone related to the Budenholzer sounds like anyone related to the Spurs would be fantastic.
Except females.
Except females, because I just do not think that would work. I mean, it would be such a disaster. It's such a disaster. Steven writes, NBA draft talk, which position? Okay, the same question. Chris writes, what team are you going to do a podcast about when the Knicks inevitably hire Mark Jackson? Jay, if we had to, let's assume the Knicks are not going to hire Mark Jackson. Let's just say the Knicks they all fall off a cliff. And they're no longer a New York Knicks franchise. We have to keep doing a podcast because it's a hypothetical world. What team should we switch to?
Spurs.
Nah, come on. They're already. I don't think we can take a team that wins 50 games for the last 20 years. That wouldn't be fun. We need something that's going to be like
fun making the playoffs 21 straight years.
Yeah, but it's like a bandwagon to get on. Maybe we get on like the Utah Jazz bandwagon. Maybe that would be good. We could hang out with the Mormons. They're an up and coming team. It'd be kind of fun to ride up with them.
Not bad. I mean, they've consistently been decent. Like they haven't gone really long streaks without the playoffs, which is important.
We have a fun young player, Donovan Mitchell, who I wish the Knicks had drafted. You got a very good defensive center,
Ricky Rubio, who I wish the Knicks traded for.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun elements. Yeah, who else would you put in the contender list? I don't want to do Spurs. I don't want to do Golden State. The Rockets, it would be kind of brutal to pretend like, oh, I'm so excited. Harden pulled off that bullshit foul.
What about the Mavericks? Mark Cuban's fun.
Yeah, but they got a long road. I don't know. I mean, I'm just getting off the Knick, being a Knick podcast, and we're gonna do the Mavericks podcast. They're a long way away from it. And I'm gonna have to pretend that Dennis Smith Jr. is our savior, and that his injuries don't matter.
Timberwolves
and lack defense. Timberwolves. I'm not so in love with doing a Tibbs podcast.
Sixers.
I can get on board with the Sixers. They're a team that you want to root for now.
Yeah. They're close enough to New York where we'd be able to justify it.
Not really. I mean, New York fans hate Philly, but yeah, Sixers or Jazz are my two front runners here. Could you switch to the Lakers?
No.
Yeah. You know the problem with doing it in the West Coast? Actually, I just thought of it. The West Coast teams, you can't watch. The games are on late, so I got to do an East Coast team.
Yeah, if you did West Coast, it would be limited to Memphis and Minnesota.
Okay, the Philly podcast starts next week. Eric writes, I have a couple where would they be questions. Where would we be if we kept Jeremy Lin and D'Antoni?
Jeremy Lin's been constantly injured. D'Antoni only works if you get an up-tempo team. They didn't have the right roster around him.
He would have been constantly fighting Melo. At some point, if you're going to keep D'Antoni, you would have had to trade Melo sooner. Or not. They probably would not have re-signed Melo to that contract.
Right, so we might be in a better position.
Yeah, D'Antoni is 2-time Coach of the Year candidate. So what if we used our... And he's obviously ahead of the curve on the three-point shooting. So we always said no D D'Antoni, but... yeah, maybe that would have been better. What if we used our amnesty on Amari instead of Chauncey Billups? That would have freed up cap for another max guy to put next to Melo and Tyson.
Yeah, if you listen to our podcast when that happened, we yelled about that for about 17 straight months.
Well, let's just say, just for the sake of this question, that the Knicks never exercise Chauncey Billups' option, which was the dumbest thing ever. Like they exercised the option on him and cut him, like did the amnesty on him like a month later. So let's say the Knicks never exercise the option on Billups and they can sign another max guy. Where would that go? So you have Tyson Chandler, Melo, and you can sign one more guy. Would the Knicks have a lot more one of the things in this era is the Knicks always never used their full salary cap because they always had some salary cap sunk into a guy that couldn't really play.
Right. I mean, yeah, you would miss out on that 1 year they made the playoffs with Amari playing at an MVP level, but
No. That happened before. That happened beforehand. We're talking about you used the year they used the amnesty on Billups was the year that they won.
Oh, right. So we have those 2 seasons, and then when he gets injured, we just amnesty him.
Yeah, or you just amnesty instead of that off season. You amnesty him and go into the season with Tyson Chandler, Melo, and one more big free agent. I don't know. The problem I think is that like the Knicks ended up being good in that season for a lot of reasons that may not have worked out. They brought someone else in. They had a lot of veterans that like.
On the other hand, if they made the right move, then you'd have like an extra weapon instead of just like a dead space.
How much better would the Knicks have been the following season? They never brought in Bargs. I mean, they had Chandler got injured early in the year, but if you don't bring in Bargs, then the next season probably is a better season.
The Knicks are probably better for the next 5 years because then you have 3 draft picks as well.
Yeah. By the way, I heard someone defending. It was a defense of Woodson when Woodson said that East is big man and like he's just like going with big lineups. They wanted to kill Woodson for that, and the defense was, what was Woodson supposed to do? All the guys you had brought in were all big guys. You had Bargs, you had Amari, you had Tyson Chandler. You had to figure out how to play them all, so he has to pretend going big is what he wants to do.
Right.
So that was like defensive. Like someone was saying that like why we should reconsider Mike Woodson. It wasn't his fault that like the Knicks like gave him they made all these dumb moves with their roster.
And in the season before, they had Kurt Thomas, Kenyon Martin, Marcus Camby, and all those other guys. They had like 7 centers.
I mean, in fairness, I mean, like I think Camby barely played. Kurt Thomas, like, yeah, no, they gave him some weird rosters. Gilliam writes, I heard Bill Simmons saying New York is the perfect place for Becky Hammons to become the first female coach, as New York basketball fans are intelligent and all that. Do you agree with this? Does New York need to do something a little groundbreaking? No, I do not. I did not even read Gilliam's question before this. I do not agree. I do not think New York fans are intelligent. I mean, I think they're intelligent fans, but I think this would go the minute something bad happens, it would be like the media would go crazy with, why'd you hire a woman? And it would get so it would become a whole controversy that like the fans can't accept a female as a coach. And then the players also, I think anything goes wrong, it's gonna be hard. It's hard enough to get the team to buy into a male head coach, and then you have a female head coach. It'll be even harder to get the players to buy in. You know, there's a certain amount of like there's enough guys in basketball who are gonna be like, hey, am I really gonna buy into a female coach? Like head coach, not assistant coach, but head coach.
Yeah, no, I mean there is going to be players like that. Didn't that happen in the D League with a ref?
What?
Oh no, it happened in the NBA with a ref, right?
The female ref?
Yeah, like one of her first days, like somebody said, "Get in your place," and you shouldn't be here, or something like that.
Yeah, there's always a chance that players will feel weird about being coached by like a woman, and it's what crap as it is. Like I just don't think the Knicks are going to be with all the media scrutiny as it is, and the fact that we've been so bad for so long. I don't think we're the team to be the groundbreaking team on this.
I'm fine with it.
You're fine, and I also just don't think there's any real urge. I mean, like whatever. I mean, like I don't think that there has to be any ground broken on this. I mean, I don't care either way if it's a female head coach. Just like I don't care if any men coach women's teams. Like, who cares?
All right.
I don't know. But do you think the Knicks need to do something groundbreaking?
I don't think they need to. They just think they need to be smart.
Yeah. Okay. Darryl writes, Mark, what did you do to the Mets? Ever since you said, why can't the Knicks be more like the Mets? The exact opposite has happened. The Mets have turned into the Knicks. They've turned Knicksian. It's all about oh God. It's I thought I was gonna have this magical Mets season, but I'm back to reality now. Gilliam writes, last Friday it was announced Arsene Wenger would be stepping down from the manager position, more or less GM plus coach equivalent at Arsenal Premier League after 22 years in charge. As an Arsenal fan, I'm very sad, despite many people wanting him out for a few years. Do you think the Knicks will ever have such a figure? Who in their history would be the closest to that? So, will they ever have a guy who runs the team well enough to be here for 22 years?
I don't think until Dolan leaves they will.
I mean, it might be longer than that. This is the Knicks. I mean, that's to get someone that good. Who in their history would be closest to that?
Who was around? Pat Riley was just the coach. He wasn't. But who was? Who was around in like the '90s? They did a pretty good job.
Well, I was going to say the was Holtzman Red Holtzman, was he like the GM also? I mean,
Ernie Grunfeld.
Grunfeld, yeah. But wouldn't Red Holtzman be the? He was the Knicks coach when they won 2 titles.
Right.
So doesn't he get like I don't know how much he did as far as said, like I don't know how much GM type work he did, but like he's our most.
He was the coach and GM. So yeah, Red.
Oh, Red was the whole coach and GM.
Yeah.
Okay, then Red definitely, no question. I mean they won 2 titles with Red. There's no one else they're even close with. So
yeah.
I mean, as good as Stan Van Gundy and Phil Jackson were. I mean, not Phil Jackson. Pat Riley were. They never actually won titles with them.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we should dig up Red Holtzman's body and just like do a seance and just make him the coach. Gilliam writes, last question, then we go to do we got 10 minutes of around the league after this. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
Gilliam writes, there's a guy I'm starting to like more and more, especially if Mikal Bridges is drafted before 9. It's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's a point guard combo guard with 6'6" with 7-foot wingspan, very similar to Frank. He's also a good defender, decent shooting, but didn't shoot a lot this season at Kentucky. But he has a better dribble, gets to the middle, and is creative passer there. Thoughts? I think if there isn't a convincing option at small forward, wouldn't be a bad alternative to draft another good perimeter defender who is long enough to switch to bigs if needed. And looking at the Pelicans smashing the 2 Portland guards, maybe the pick and roll game has been overrated. Maybe with 2 great defenders at guard, this kind of game can be stopped. Will be very interesting to see what Rondo and Holiday can do against Curry and Clay. So first of all, have you ever heard of this player, Shai?
No.
That's it. Jay and Mark with almost no knowledge of college basketball have not heard of this player. So
I don't even know where. Like, are we talking a 2nd round pick or?
I think he's staying in the 1st round. There's an article about him saying that he has potential to be a lottery pick.
I feel like 9 might be a stretch.
I don't know enough about the player. I know he has not been a guy people are really talking about.
Yeah.
And if he didn't shoot a lot in Kentucky, I wonder, like, did Kentucky watch him in practice and think, like, he's not... Well, first of all, if he didn't shoot a lot in Kentucky, you're going to take another guy who's... I don't know how good his offense is, but the fact that he's a reluctant offensive player is not going to be a guy you want to compare next to Ntilikina when both your guards will be reluctant offensive players.
Yeah.
They say he's that guy. He became like the de facto captain. He works hard. He performs. He finishes games. Players look at him like he's kind of like someone to look to, like a captain, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's not a lot here that makes me say like this guy's gonna be. Mikal Bridges is my number one right now for the number 9 pick.
Yeah, it's fair.
Is anyone of your who's your number one for the number 9 pick right now?
I think the
Who do you
same. I haven't seen anybody around that range that impresses me more than Bridges.
I don't want to. I'm really reluctant to, and I'm fine with best player available, but I'm reluctant to want to add another guard to the mix also.
Yeah.
But I do see. I do get the point that maybe having another good perimeter defender would be very helpful. It's just that like you need some offense from your guards, and like it does not like Frankie right now he needs someone next to him that's a good offensive player on as a guard, or else it's hard to play. It's hard to play two guards that don't play offense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I don't know. Okay, you want to go around the league?
Yeah, sure.
So you want to start with the series that Gilliam just referenced. So the Pelicans stomped on Portland. Is that probably the biggest surprise of the?
It's the only sweep in the entire first round, and it's the 6th seed, which is very surprising. With Cousins going down.
Are they 4-5 or they're 3-6?
3-6.
3-6. Yeah, it's surprised. Like you also figured like the backcourt that of Portland, like it's a hard thing to shut down.
But the Pelicans backcourt is really defensive.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole point. Like Rondo's still a pretty decent defender, and Holiday's a really good defender.
Yeah, Rondo got just good enough at 3-pointers where you can't be 7 feet off of him, which kind of spread the floor out a little bit so that Davis can go nuts.
And
Holiday series.
The last game, I think Holiday and Unibrow went off for 40 points.
I got to say, this is one of the most interesting first rounds in a long, long time.
Yeah, no, it is a very interesting first round so far. This was I kind of sucked. I guess they're slated to play Golden State next, right? Assuming Golden State wins.
Yeah.
I always feel bad because like I'd like to see them play anyone besides Golden State.
I mean, Golden State's up 3-1. They lost today, but you got to think they're not going to lose 3 more in a row to the Spurs.
Yeah, so I think they're gonna. I'm glad. It's nice to at least see the Spurs pull off a game there and show that the Golden State is like not invincible.
Yeah, I think the Warriors will pull off the gentleman's sweep.
Yeah, but I don't know. It'll be really. Well, first off, I guess like if you're in New Orleans, are you fine with letting Cousins go?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like it's funny how you traded all this to get him, and like you're trying to make it work, and now when it got injured, like you're kind of fine with him leaving too. It's not worth giving him the money to stay.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you can, you could definitely get something of value for him. So then instead of paying him 20-something million a year, you're paying Miratek 12.
Is he a free agent or is he still under contract?
Cousins?
Yeah.
Cousins is. I was just looking at Miratek. Miratek's got just 1 more year at 12.5, which isn't bad.
Okay.
Cousins is actually a free agent, so maybe you just let him walk.
Yeah, I mean, they don't trade him. I mean, like you could do a sign and trade if they need be, but like,
I mean, are you going to pay him $25 million a year? Like, is that your big need? I feel like you'd rather get like a 3.
Yeah, I mean, like the thing is, like adding Cousins to this roster, do you get a lot better? And I don't know if you get a lot better. They're already pretty darn good without him. Yeah, I agree. You need a 3. You need other things. You could split it to get like 2 more bench players. Like, they have an interesting team. What next series you want to talk about? You want to talk about?
I don't really have much to say about the Warriors Spurs.
I thought we covered that already.
Yeah, the whole Kawhi thing is just insane, and they're going to lose because of that.
Would you trade the Knicks' first round pick this year and KP to get Kawhi?
Probably.
But then do you know? Or do you think Kawhi is going to come back 100%?
Yeah.
Okay. It's really weird. It's really weird. The only thing I'd say is that, do you want to trade for a guy that had a falling out with Popovich? Like the best coach in the NBA, arguably the best coach in the NBA, and one of the best systems in the NBA, and he couldn't last there.
I know. I feel like maybe he's a head case.
Yeah, maybe there's a lot there. Maybe like you don't want to take on like someone that's too like San Antonio can't handle. Maybe you don't want to take that guy on.
If it works out, though, you got like a top 5 player in the league.
Right. No, but I don't know. They are probably going to trade him, I would think.
Yeah, they have to. They have to. The whole team's got to be so mad at him. They can't bring him back.
I mean, it's insane. This is hard. This is a hard thing to really make amends and get him back next year and have it all work.
Yeah.
That should be an interesting part of the offseason. Okay, so Cleveland playing tonight against down 2-1 against the Pacers.
Shocking.
Are you saying that sarcastically?
No, like I knew they split the season series, and I knew they were fairly evenly matched, but I figured like Pacers would always be playing catch up. The fact that they went up 2-1 is very surprising to me.
Yeah, no, I'm really surprised. Cleveland's up 60-50 right now, and it's in the I think it's halftime.
Yeah, but the last 2 games, like the team up ahead, huge at the half. Like the other team went on a run afterwards. Like no game is safe in this series.
Yeah, no, it's I don't know, it's pretty interesting. I mean, Cleveland really like. I was thinking that trade really helped them, but they've still got crap in this roster.
That's what I was telling you. It's a bunch of like misfits that weren't.
The problem is Kevin Love is not as good as he used to be, so that really kills you because you really need a lot from Kevin Love, and he's not getting. It's not like he gets the weight. It's not like when he had Wade and Bosch in Miami, you'd get so much from those guys that it would offset what he had to do. He gets nothing from like Kevin Love right now.
It's a whole team of role players.
I mean, Calderon played he played 11 minutes so far in the first half. That's a lot to have Jose Calderon play for you. Like
LeBron
he was too
James
washed up for the Knicks, and he's starting for like a team that's supposed to go to the finals.
LeBron James is now Patrick Ewing. You are surrounded by role players.
I mean, this is really. I don't know why they're not playing Zizic. He looked pretty good. Like I don't know, he's looking decent for them. I mean, he's not amazing or anything, but he was a good like energy guy off the bench and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know why he seemed like, based on what they have in this roster, like, I mean, you got Larry Nance, you got
I watched
Hood.
Game 3. I gotta say, Oladipo's borderline incredible.
Borderline incredible. Why?
Yeah, did you watch any games?
No, I have not watched much. I have not watched the series.
If you watch the series, he looks just as good as like a Westbrook and a Harden. Like he's insanely fast. He penetrates. He could shoot from outside. Like he's just taking over the game. It's crazy.
If you're a Orlando Magic fan and you're listening to this show, please don't include this in your suicide letter.
Or Thunder.
I mean, if you evaluate some of the trades from the offseason, like the Oklahoma trades, that is not the Oklahoma should just stand. They should have made neither of their trades. They probably would be a better team.
Yeah.
Would the Oklahoma be better if they made neither trade?
It probably would have been better if they didn't make a trade for the last 7 years and just kept Durant and Harden.
That's true too. I mean, if you add like on this team, like the thing is, would Victor Oladipo have gone to the next level if he was still on Oklahoma?
No.
So that's why it doesn't even matter because like, he would never have been this good if he had to defer to Westbrook the whole time.
Yeah, sometimes it's about a change of scenery or just fit with your teammates.
Yeah, Westbrook's not obviously, as Durant has said, Westbrook's not the easiest guy to play with.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Pacers are a surprising young team also now. It's amazing how you turned around your roster so well by making a trade like this. You trade away Paul George, your best player, and your roster's so much better. And
Yeah, it's I'm happy to see LeBron for one of the first times in his entire career have a tough first round matchup.
This is a very tough matchup for them. I still think Cleveland's going to win because it's hard to pick against them, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I do too, but there is a chance that they lose this.
Yeah, I would say right now 60-40% chance in Cleveland wins.
Thing is,
55.
like, they
It's
have
not
to
like
win tonight. Like, if they lose tonight, that swings to like 2080.
no, I agree with that too. Okay, we said Golden State. Another very interesting one, which looked like it was going to be the Boston was going to run over Milwaukee. Now it's tied 2-2.
Yeah, I mean, they everyone knows they lost Hayward, but then when they lost Irving, it's like you lose your top two players. It's really hard to be good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's a huge deal. And you have to think. I mean, you have the Greek Freak. He's supposed to be one of the best players in the NBA. Your roster can't Milwaukee's roster is not that bad.
I just don't like Milwaukee's roster, but I feel like the Celtics got through that one injury. I feel like they were just completely disheartened after the Irving injury. Like you said, they went on a losing streak near the end of the season. I think they just never mentally recovered from that.
But they did win the first two games of the series, and it looked like they were going to win the series.
Yeah, but then when things started going bad, it was.
It's hard. It's hard to get over these two. Like the Hayward injury, you live with because he never even got on the court really for you, and the team started winning right away. You still had Kyrie Irving. You still had a lot to excited about. It's a hard one to recover from Kyrie Irving, especially because now you have a lot of very young players on this team. Like Rozier is now running your offense. I mean, Jaylen Brown is playing really well, but at the same time, like he's like a second-year player.
I mean, I mentioned it to you offline. Did you find it weird that Bledsoe didn't even know who Rozier or Brown were?
Did you mention this to me offline?
Yeah, I emailed you that.
Did I not read your email? What did he say? I don't remember hearing this from you.
Yeah, they asked him how he felt about Rozier, and he said, "Who the F is that?" And I don't think he was talking trash. He looked genuinely confused. And it's like, if the point guard of the opposing team in the playoffs didn't do research onto who he's covering all night, kind of a red flag.
At the same time, the series is tied 2-2, so.
It is. Well, he probably found out who he was.
How do you feel about the Boston Celtics? The who? The Celtics.
Where am I?
They play in Boston. Where's that? The NBA. The what? he has a brain injury. We just find out now. He has no memory whatsoever.
He's gonna wake up like 3 years from now and didn't realize he had an NBA career.
Yeah. He's the guy from Memento.
I still
They're like,
think...
you're covering Rozier. Okay. Who are you? I'm your coach. Oh yeah. Who am I covering? Rozier. Oh my God.
I still think the Celtics win, but it's become an interesting series. But
I mean, speaking of another surprising series, Raptors Wizards, 2-2.
2-2 again. Another underperforming Raptors playoff.
Yeah, everyone got excited because the Raptors finally going to play like they're supposed to in the playoffs. Now they're not.
I mean, on the other hand, the Wizards were, I think, better than an 8th seed just because.
Yeah, because the injuries.
Yeah, Wall and Beal. I mean, Wall missed a ton of time, and then when they came back, they were kind of had trouble fitting him back in almost. I mean, now it seems like this is the way they were like earlier in the season.
I mean, we discussed this before. Like we were joking when we had our debate where I had to take the underdog. The starting five, Wizards starting five, is not that much worse than the Toronto starting five. So this should be a good series.
Yeah.
I mean, Wall is a very good player. It's not like Lowry is much better than him. Bradley Beal's a very good player. It's not like DeRozan's not much better than him.
Yeah. So this should be a long series too.
Yeah, I mean the bench. Obviously, the Raptors bench is better than the Wizards bench. But how much? They played Ty Lawson, by the way, 15 minutes today, which is surprising. The Ty Lawson's still in the league. That's the surprising part.
He wasn't in the league a week ago.
Apparently he was because he made a playoff roster.
Well, if you're not on a team, you can join right before the playoffs. If you're on a team, you have to get cut before March 1st.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
He only played the last 3 games of the season.
Oh, I did not know that. I mean, it's tough. Like the Raptors had to play DeRozan and Lowry about 30 and 39 minutes. That's a lot of minutes, and which is what you expect in the playoffs. But you're leaving less time for your bench to really matter.
Well, that's good because Washington's bench is terrible.
But I know, but if your strength is your bench, it doesn't matter as much. Basically, if like there's less time for bench on both teams.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have it's going to matter some. But okay, next series you want to go to? Who am I forgetting?
Houston, Minnesota.
Houston, Minnesota. This is another one where so Minnesota won a game. I assume this is going to be Minnesota had a real shot in game one. They blew it. I assume this is going to be 4-1 Houston.
Gentleman's sweep.
Yeah. On the other hand, anything you want to say about the series?
Nope.
Okay. I mean, they do. There's another one actually, though. Minnesota should be better than an 8th seed.
Yeah.
I mean, now that you have Butler, like it's not a bad team.
Yeah, I think the problem is just Wiggins sleepwalking through defense every game.
It's surprising how bad of a defender he ended up being in the
Yeah.
NBA. Do you think? And by the way, do you want to say, I'm sorry, Derrick Rose, you deserve a place in the NBA again?
Nope.
Got 17 points.
Good.
50% shooting.
If he makes it through this 5-game series without getting injured, I'll be shocked.
Well, he's another guy. I feel like he could be a solid guy off the bench. He just is not a starter.
Mm-hmm.
If you need a guy to come in and create some quick offense, and you don't have to worry, you're not as concerned about his defense, he's not a bad player to have. That's why the same thing with Cantor. I feel like Cantor, going back to the Knicks, he'd be a solid guy off your bench if you need some quick points. He's just not a guy you want to like.
Yeah, that's the problem. The Knicks keep giving big contracts and starting roles to guys who should be playing 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much. I mean, it's Jose Calderon was like, "Why did you trade for me and make me your starter? I wasn't a starter. I was ready to be a role player."
They've been doing that since Antonio McDyess.
It's basically the Knicks take guys who are like later in their career who should definitely not be starting anymore and make them starter. Versus like Houston says, James Harden, your career is on the upward trajectory. We're gonna make you a starter now and have you. He was a sixth man in Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna make you the centerpiece. Whereas the Knicks are like, we're gonna make you the centerpiece. My career is almost over. Yeah, I know, Calderon, but we'll make you the centerpiece here. And last series, Utah OKC, where I'm gonna say Utah's up 2-1. Probably goes 6 or 7 games, but I think Utah's gonna pull this off.
I do too. Be very interesting to see what happens. I mean, you get Paul George and Carmelo, and you don't make it out of the first round.
I'm going to say Paul George is going to leave, and Carmelo Anthony is unfortunately going to stay for Oklahoma. Yeah, I mean Oklahoma. They're gonna say fans will be like, "Can we move on from this contract?" Hopefully he opts out. He's going to opt in because it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And Paul George will probably be like, "Let me see where LeBron's going." And I just saw. I know what I wasn't looking at. I didn't look at the box score for this game until just now. The last OKC Utah game. I guess that's from today, right? Or yesterday.
Yesterday.
Westbrook was a -25.
Yeah. Well, most of the starters were.
Yeah, I know, but they lost by 13 points. It's just amazing to how much of a that's. I would expect.
Rubio is so good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we could have had him, but why would you trade for him? Why would you return that phone call?
Unbelievable. And the last series is Philly, Miami.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm liking about a lot of these series? The teams genuinely don't like each other. Like it's been a long time since we've had that. Like Utah, OKC seem to not like each other. Philly, Miami hate each other.
Winslow got fined $15,000 for stepping on Embiid's mask.
Yeah, it was a dick move.
Of course it is, but it's great. I mean, like if you want teams that like not like each other, that's great.
Yeah, it's a good way to keep the rivalry going.
I mean that's what you want. You want teams that like where the guy steps on the other guy's mask. Like people do like just asshole things to each other because that makes a good series.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw that. I was like, oh, that's wonderful.
Ben Simmons is absolutely incredible.
He is very good at basketball. Yeah. I mean, that's why the rookie of the year thing is really hard to decide between the two of them. But
I know
they're
Donovan
both.
Mitchell. Like this is the first time I'm getting to watch him. Holy shit.
He is very good at basketball. And it's hard to. I mean, like let's not debate that again. But I don't know. Both teams are very interesting. Both. Well, is it funny that by the way that they said Embiid was highly doubtful for the game when he played?
Well, he was throwing a fit.
He was what?
He was throwing a fit.
Yeah, it's just funny. They moved him up from not playing to highly doubtful, and then he played.
So yeah, they're going to win this series in 5.
Their defense, you know what I was watching them is like watching Philly, like their length on defense. Like they just like having a bunch of guys with long arms makes a huge difference on defense.
They're a gigantic team.
They really are. I also the reemergence of Dwayne Wade. Do you think the Cleveland screwed up by letting Wade go?
Yeah, probably. I mean, who would you rather have, Wade or Nance Jr.?
I mean, well, they gave him away. Like, they just cut him, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, they cut him so he could resign with Miami. But maybe LeBron just said, "Hey, Wade, you're a Hall of Famer. You seem to like get your game in shape when it comes to playoffs. Man, I want to have you around here." Like they would, I not that it would like guarantee they're going to like, the finals or anything, but I feel like they'd be very happy to have Wade right now.
Yeah.
But good call, Cleveland. Cutting him for no good reason.
NY Knicks Podcast on Gmail, at gmail.com. NY Knicks Podcast for Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And NY Knicks, patreon.com/NY Knicks Podcast. If you like the show and want to give a little bit back, you can do that. And the New York Knicks Podcast.com is our website. And we have podcast shirts on there. So pick one up while supplies last.
While supplies last. We have operators are standing by. If you don't get through the first time, call again. They're not calling, right? They're doing on a website?
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't just come to Jay's house in Queens and just buy a shirt in person. Would you be upset if someone came to your house to buy the shirt in person? Like showed up at your work and like found you and tracked you down?
Yeah, I think I would.
What if they came up to like during your next CPA exam and wanted to buy one?
I would be impressed. I would be impressed if they were able to get through all that security. That place is like friggin' Fort Knox.
What did we learn today, Jay?
We learned that we are in the middle of a classic first round.
Yeah. This is the best playoffs that the NBA has had in a while.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll not end with Golden State versus Cleveland because that would be the worst way to end this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and we're all on. We learned we all still want the Knicks to get a good head coach.
Yes.
Okay. I think we're done.
Yep. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, love. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. It's all over. Goodbye. It's time to go. This is the end.